Hello there, folks at home. This is an update on two things. Firstly, thanks to everyone who donated for the fundraising equipment. We're actually going ordering it today when this is being filmed, so it'll be ordered before you see this. So hopefully it'll take only a couple of weeks then to come, and then you will see audio equipment. You'll have to give us a couple of weeks because it's really good audio equipment, and we're going to figure out like how to use it. So you'll have to give us a couple of weeks, maybe of potential audio issues, and then we will go with it. And so thanks a million for everyone that donated. It was really cool to see, that we didn't have to go and sell our soul and just get like money from our viewers, and that's really cool. And it genuinely feels like it's more of a thing. And the other thing as well. So Croig is sort of the parent group over this that I'm one of the people involved with, and there's a few of us involved with it who are outside of even the podcast. But Croig is the thing that birthed this podcast. This podcast is only the sort of intention of this podcast was to build a platform to be able to promote Croig and everything we're doing, which Croig has always been hard to explain to people, like, because, we used to meet people up in the streets, we'd be banging pots and pans in the middle of the town park, and we were trying to, people would come up and we'd be banging pots and pans, they'd be like, what's Croig for? And I'd be like, oh, it's for mental health, and they'd look at you like that, because you're like, what, you're banging pots and pans, maybe that's the mental thing here, is banging pots and pans. But we kind of always knew what it was going to be about down the line, and sort of watched it unfold, and on that, we're starting to get more clarification and being able to explain better what Croig is. It's still hard because it's a new thing and it's not exactly a structure that's been done before, and that's kind of the point of it, and maybe the potential sort of magic in it, and the potential, hopefully, national change we can make with it. We are starting with Turles because we know Turles so well. And so basically, Croig, to sum it up in a sentence, Croig was brought about to inspire healing through creativity. Creativity is a vague term, but we do want to show how, creativity can be seen as music and art, but we do want to show that creativity is much bigger than that, and we can create better lives for ourselves as individuals, because we're always trying to change the community first, or the nation even first, or the world even first, when it should start with the individual. If we have a community full of healthy, happy individuals, it is inevitable there's going to be a better community, and that is the purpose of Croig, and that's what we want to do. So finally, we're going to start doing that through Croig workshops that are run through Croig. The workshops are going to be presented that Croig, after getting Dr. Haley Wood, who you know from these podcasts, who's going to be in the next part, who has an extensive list of experience and knowledge in health, and sort of a lot of the stuff that's come to her is sort of new. It's information that's been out there, but she's sort of able to explain it in a way that's not so, I don't know, bullshitty, like the way a lot of it is, to be honest. That's just saying it how it is. And that's not talking bad about other stuff, more so talking about, I don't know, it's authentic. And anyway, so the first workshop that's going to be going on will be on the 9th of August. And because it's run through a community group, it's going to be done, and it's not funded by anyone, so we're doing it as cheap as possible, and it's €50 a session, and it's being done as cheap as we possibly can, so that's worthwhile, and that Croig can grow from it and all this. And basically the first workshop is based on, which is really cool, it's a very specific topic, and it's not just some, here's how to change your mental health. It's giving you the tools and knowledge you need to change yourself, and then you're not relying on people outside yourself, because you are always going to be with yourself. So it's very important that we, as even globally, start to understand how to change things within ourselves. And Haley has been able to provide information for people to do that. She's had so much success all around Tipperary with this in the past, and it's really cool that she's gone presenting it in Turles specifically. So so it's basically, it's how this specific workshop is based on how to change, how to literally take control essentially of your entire life, and how to create the life that you want just by catching your thoughts, and just by noticing your thoughts and how the thoughts affect it. It is a really wonderful, specific workshop. And over time we're starting it off, in small amounts, and over time we want to get it out there in bigger scale and stuff like that. But we are new, so we are starting off with small, and it is limited spaces and stuff like that. And we really do want to get it out there on a bigger scale, but we really do have to start, we are starting at the right pace, and we're patient, and that's okay, because that's how we see this as working out. And so I really would recommend doing it. It is as cheap as possible. It is €50 for an hour and a half of it's a very unique and specific sort of thing that I never came across until we met Hayley and she got involved. And so if anyone wants to do it, the number is up here, 089 419 3032, or you can email us there at crohic.ireland@gmail.com. And you can also message the phone number, or you can also message on WhatsApp that, and we'll put you down for a place. If you know anyone that might need it or anything like that, it's very helpful. And personally, the thing has actually made a massive effect in my life. And if I never come across Hayley, you wouldn't see this. And she's been helping everyone, even the team, with her extensive knowledge. And sorry about this spiel. We're going to get into a great episode now. And again, contact that number or email if you want to do it. I hope you have a lovely day. New audio equipment coming soon. Look after yourself and enjoy this episode with Catherine Fogarty. Go. Dun dun. Hi.
Okay. Are we ready to roll?
Yeah, it's starting with Hugh.
Okay. Welcome back to Everything from Nothing, Ireland's most radio-friendly podcast. And this week we're joined by Catherine Fogarty from Tip Midwest, isn't it?
Very radio-friendly, yes.
Yeah, very good. Come here, you're from McCarthy?
Yes, from Auchnagamon, actually, a little place that's almost as mythical as Brigadoon.
Yeah.
We're just at Killockhill, so Horse and Jockey would have been our area.
Yeah.
But although we're in the parish of Macarkey, we actually went to school, primary school in Borlandwalla, the next parish, the other direction. So we were kind of split off from our own parish as kids, and then secondary school would have been in Thurles.
So it's down at that road, is it? As you go over the bridge, is it down to the right or something, is it?
Yes, if you're in Macarkey village, it's over the larger railway bridge, 2 miles up, and then we're at the foot of Killockhill. So the parents were farmers, the fields run right up Killockhill. If you're out near the Horse and Jockey looking at the hill, you can see the larger big field was our big field.
Oh, class.
The Sunday walks were go up around the hill, around the back of Killockhill, go down to the quarry, back up to Gale and back down the road. Going to secondary school, we'd walk up to the road at Ballytarsna to catch the bus in Thurles.
Oh, class. Very good. And come here, you went off to New York. When did you go off to New York?
Well, I went to college in Limerick for 5 years, and then I started work in Dunleary in Dublin. So Dunleary was gorgeous.
What did you study, Catherine, in Limerick?
I did business studies, but I did it with the intention of being a commerce teacher.
Oh, wow.
So when I went it was in secondary school, what do you want to be? I loved my commerce teacher here in Thurles. I went to the vocational school, and we had fabulous teachers and really wonderful people. And when I finished, we'd moved to a new building up in Castle Meadows. That's the vintage I am. So that was our new school, and it was fabulous. So I wanted to be a commerce teacher, so you had to do a BCom and a diploma in education. So at that time, in the 80s, I went to NIHE in Limerick, did business studies, took the accountancy option, and then went to Thomond College, which was on the same campus, to do a diploma in education. And then I started working in Dunleary as a teacher in 88.
In commerce?
Yes. But it was an interesting school, because the school was a second level school, but it only had a tiny amount of second level pupils. It was moving into that whole area of post-leaving certificate courses. So we were doing business studies, foreign trade, reception skills.
Nice.
A lovely, great mix of things in the building. And Dunleary was a lovely setting. We had the harbour, gorgeous facilities, lovely parks, Clarinda Park, the People's Park. Really well established, fabulous.
What could you if I did what can you tell me that if I did a business studies course now, or went to college to do business studies now, what can you tell me that they would have taught then that they don't teach now because the world has changed?
I think just there's a lot of the technology, really.
Okay, yeah.
Huge amount of that.
Yeah,
issues around
like marketing and everything.
Cryptocurrency.
Okay.
We did marketing then, and the marketing is the same. I don't think marketing has changed.
I agree, yeah, I agree.
I think marketing is still the same things. The product, the place, the promotion, the price. Get that together, the customer experience, you can have success.
Yeah. What's something that that they're not, that you'd think that they're probably not teaching anymore, that was like significant to the world then?
Gosh, that's a hard question.
I know, yeah.
What was significant to the world then? I don't know. I think there's too much of a focus now on consumption, that we can consume and we're overconfident we can solve every problem.
Yeah.
And if we create any waste material, we will find another solution for that. And I'm not sure we can do that and save the planet.
Yeah.
Does commerce still exist as a subject? Because it was a subject when I was in school. I wasn't aware that it's still...
In secondary school now, business studies will be the subject title at second level now. And then it splits. You can either do economics or do accountancy as well at second level, and then go on and specialise in third level. My degree was business studies. The interesting thing about it was I could have gone to any of the universities or the two NIHE colleges at that time, but the universities offered a course called a BCom, and you went from secondary school in to do the course, and when you finished in the universities, you could have done your diploma in education, and then you're qualified and back to the classroom. In NIHE, they had 2 work placements that you had to do in the course of the 4 years. So I did 6 months with Avonmore and 6 months with Tipperary County Council in the motor tax office.
That's really good.
So you got a little bit more of an insight into a real business setting.
Yeah.
And as a person coming back to the classroom, it had broadened your experience.
Yeah. I think the first time I met you, did you, I don't know why it could be, maybe it was a dream. Did you do anything with like record things in New York or something?
Well, the thing was, I went to New York for Christmas '96 for a holiday, had a blast. Then after Christmas, my uncle over there got a cancer diagnosis, so I went over to see him again at Easter. And then by the time summer came around, his diagnosis had gotten worse, and I was thinking of taking a year off. I was pensioned in Dunleary. I could take a career break for a year. So I took a year off to go to New York, and he said, well, come. He said, I'm not going to be here forever. So I went over. And then his daughter was in Nashville at that time. She was a singer-songwriter. So when her dad was ill, she moved back to New York as well. And I was in the throes of how fabulous the internet is. It was 96, 97. I suggested to her she could have a website, she could produce her material there, she could sell that way. She didn't have to wait to get a contract with somebody. So I got involved with her. So she had a writing music business called Horse and Jockey Records.
Brilliant.
Because her mom and dad were from McCarthy Parish as well. And then she had a lot of tracks that she had recorded in Nashville. In Nashville, she had a writing contract with a producer down there. And a lot of people would ask her to record their songs because as songwriters, they wanted somebody to make a demo so they could pitch their songs to other people. That whole city in Nashville is songwriters and song singers who are trying to get a break, be seen, be found, be discovered. So as you come back to New York, we put together a new CD, created the website, and then started trying to sell that. But then I thought get a song in a TV show or a movie would be good. So although I had a day job in a restaurant, I was working with her, so we got one of the songs into Dawson's Creek TV show.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was huge then.
Yep. It was fantastic. I came home from work one night and there was a phone call on the machine. Sony Music would like to talk to you about putting this song.
No way.
What was the name of the song?
Under My Skin. It's a beautiful song.
That's cool. That's mad.
You can find it on YouTube. So her name was Maura Fogarty. Now, sadly, she died since then. In 2009, she had an asthma attack and had a heart attack following that and died. And she was 43 at the time. So.
Wow.
And she was a fabulous person, really wonderful, warm-hearted, kind, great fun, hard-working, ambitious. So it was an awful tragedy for her, for her family. So we had the first CD out. Then we decided we would go to Nashville. We would book a studio. We would make a CD in Nashville. So we did that.
Was that really good fun?
Yes, it was incredible. Wonderful experience, you know.
Yeah.
Her cousins were
in Nashville as well. Like, I'd love to visit
well,
there.
all of her siblings were very talented, creative people. Her sister is a forensic scientist. And she had to go to San Francisco for a conference. And she asked me, would I like to come? But I would have to entertain myself in San Francisco, which I thought I could do for a week in the daytime.
How tough was that?
A
So
challenge.
we went out to across the Golden Gate Bridge, went to Sausalito, had a lovely time. But we decided we'd take the train from New York to San Francisco because I said I might take the train or the bus back to see America as you think you will do, but it's so vast. We did take a train trip over. We took it from New York to Chicago, goes through the Rockies. And at that time, there was a bad weather storm, so they told us the train is stopping in Sacramento, and we're going to coach you into San Francisco. So we did that. But when you go through the Rockies in the train is stopped for a moment, and they hand it over to local control. It moves forward a little bit, and then it goes back to central control. And she got a little bit queasy being in the tunnel where we were stopped, so she decided she'd walk forward in the train and see if perhaps the front of the train was out in daylight. Unfortunately, it was out, but it was up in the Rocky Mountains, so she did not like what she saw. She felt, wow, we're up so high. So she phoned Amtrak when we got to San Francisco and said, I want to go home a different way. So we went down to Los Angeles to go home, and then took the train back across New Mexico, and then up a different way to Chicago, back to
That's amazing.
That's such
I
a
was
good
delighted.
experience.
I just saw a bit more of America.
Yeah.
The train is incredible. I did the Trans-Mongolian train from Beijing
Wow.
to Moscow, and that was insane. Like it's
The whole
incredible.
experience of who you meet and what you see.
Yeah.
And you might stop. There's a stop somewhere you can buy some goods.
We stopped. We
That's
got lucky
cool.
because it stops wherever the train driver has family or friends, or it's at their own thing. So they're stopping doing their business all along the way. And we got 24 hours in Mongolia. Like it stopped literally from midnight to midnight. So we were able to get off the train and mooch around and stuff like that.
You had that a little bit here. You reminded me once I took the bus. I hope nobody's listening to this, but I took the bus
I hope everyone's listening.
from Clonmel to Thurles, and I'm not sure where the bus driver forgot I was on the bus, but he stopped in Littleton. He went into the shop and he bought a can of paint, and he got back on and carried on into Thurles.
That's
No
what
way.
these guys were like. They were doing
That's
all sorts of business work at the front and trading with people. And like, when you first get into Russia, everybody, all the Chinese people are selling them Levi's jeans and stuff like that. Like it was like a proper marketplace every time you stopped, you know.
And that's
Really
commerce.
good. Yeah.
Business, it's incredible
Yeah.
how people find a way to make a living, because everybody, I think Yates said it, we all exist by selling something. Which is
Absolutely. I got a bus from Thurles to Kilkenny once when I was after the Gaeltacht, and me and a friend were going to see these girls we knew in the Gaeltacht. Oh my God.
Did you have people selling Levi's at the window there?
Oh my God. It took
Thurles to
hours
Kilkenny.
to get from Thurles to Kilkenny. And it was like, hello, Maura. Hello. Oh, Tom, how are you? Are you going to Kilkenny today? No, Tom, no, we're not. How are you all yourselves? We're good. I was going, oh my God, on to the next house. Mary, are you going to Kilkenny today? No. It took us hours. We walked back, we hitched
It is
them
a
up.
tragedy, though, that from Thurles you cannot get up in the morning, get a bus, go to Kilkenny, spend the day and come back in the evening. The connections
Yeah.
don't work. You can get there, but unless you come back on the bus that arrives there, you can't do it. And that's the difficulty with our public transport in
That's
Ireland.
common a
Especially
lot,
in
all
Thurles,
over
yeah.
Ireland. Like even just getting people to medical appointments, it's like if they don't have their own transport, it's like literally they arrive one day and they can't go back till the next day.
Yes, crazy. And it's relatively speaking a small distance.
Yeah.
And that's
so
a pity. Now,
mad.
it will hopefully improve. Hopefully this government are more in mind to spend money on public transport.
Yeah.
But people are very car culture devotees. It's seen as a status symbol, and people like to have their own independent space. And past the pandemic will keep people saying, you know, I'd like to have my own healthy environment.
That's
here,
true as well.
that I can
Yeah.
control who I meet.
Public transport is very expensive in Ireland as well. Like you drive nearly quicker, you know what I mean, or cheaper. I mean, than
Yes, Irish
Trains
Rail-
definitely,
Trains
yeah.
are insane.
trains
Buses I never found too bad.
no, they're not too bad.
But trains definitely.
Yes, the train is incredibly expensive.
Oh, I remember one time. I don't know if it's still applicable, like if it's still the thing now. But I remember when I was living down in Kerry, like passing the little Kerry airport, and we were getting trains up, like, and we might have been paying for trains at the time. But if we did decide to pay for them, which we didn't, like we were
I
kind
was
of
going
getting
to say
free.
that implies
We were
that
young.
you didn't
Yeah,
pay
yeah.
at various times.
But if we did, it would have been an outrage. It was like I think it was like
Hide in the
50
toilet.
euro or
Yep.
40 euro or something. But I remember anyway looking at the train tickets, and I was so surprised by their prices that I looked up what the price was from Kerry to Dublin. I don't remember what it was, but basically Kerry Airport, which isn't reliable because there's only one plane a day. It was cheaper to get a plane from Kerry to Dublin than it was the train, which I just thought was mental.
It's a question of what Irish Rail want to do, what it was set up to do, what it
Okay.
intends to do.
Yeah.
In Ireland also, it has to carry a lot of passengers for free who have a free travel pass. Which I
Yeah.
think it's great that they
I
have
think
that
that's really
opportunity.
cool.
Yeah.
It gives them that freedom to move around. But if you look at Luxembourg, all public transport is free, which means they're really trying to encourage people to do that, and everybody has a better society with less congestion, less pollution.
Is Irish Rail like a semi-state? Like, is it?
Yeah.
No, is it?
Now
okay.
they've made them all that they're independent. It's up to the companies to make
Yeah.
commercial decisions. Years ago, they would always get a bailout from the state. They'd get a considerable subvention from the state, but they want them to try to stand on their own 2 feet. Like this government have said they'll spend their money 2-to-1 on public transport rather than on road construction.
Okay,
But
yeah.
that's a big political fight still to go on.
Yeah.
Row going on about building an N24 motorway from
Yeah,
Waterford
yeah.
to Limerick and another motorway from Limerick to Cork. It's a lot of
God.
money, a lot of land, a lot of people being
There's a
disrupted.
lot of land. That is a
And
lot
still
of
all those
land.
carbon emissions. So
And actually,
Yeah.
the motorways here, like they're not that busy compared to other countries that I've lived in. Like we're in the UK, it's nuts, and same in South Africa.
yes, a
and
lot of
stuff.
the decisions are made based on political. If there's a TD or a minister in the area, they'll promise them a road construction. Part of this solution in this road project from Limerick to Waterford or from Limerick to Cork, people are saying, let the traffic, build a motorway from Limerick out towards Cahir, and let the traffic join the M8 there, that it's significantly underused. And that would be the better thing to do.
Yeah.
But the politicians announced they would build a motorway from Limerick to Cork at the 2020 election, and they're trying to hold on to that for the moment.
That's difficult when that happens, isn't it? Like, as in, it makes a mess of the whole project. It's like the Children's Hospital, like, it was announced and started before they had drawn properly, so now that's going to just be a mess.
Yes, and the contractor they have and the terms of the contract they have are pretty bad as well.
Yeah.
The contractor bid for the price, got the contract, and then is allowed to subsequently submit any additional items they wish. They've already submitted 400 million worth of claims that they say, we didn't include this, we need this paid for as well.
That's mental. When did you leave New York?
So I came back to live in Ireland in 2009 for a while.
Yeah.
My mother was ill.
How long had you been in New York by that point?
Really from 97, I moved over probably in 97, from 97 until 2009 I came back, my mom was ill.
Had you not come back at all between that time?
I'd come back a little bit at the beginning, but not a lot towards the end because I was waiting for my green card to be processed.
Why I was wondering that is you said you were over there in 97 or that when, like, so the internet was sort of, New York was kind of where the internet happened in the Western world, like kind of thing anyway, wasn't it? Like, and so you got to experience that, like, what, did you come back in, like, soon after that, and like, was it weird coming back into Ireland, the difference between, like, Irish people probably not even knowing what the internet was then, or
No, because I think what I missed most when I worked in Dunleary, I used to go to the Blackrock Teacher Centre, and the Blackrock Teacher Centre were at the cutting edge of all technology.
Oh wow, okay.
So it was a facility that was available from Dunleary. It was just about 20 minutes walk up the road.
Yeah,
and it was a wonderful thing.
It's a Silicon Valley of Ireland.
Blackrock's a bit posh, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Dunleary at that time was the most amazing constituency in Ireland. It had 5 TDs. It had one from all political parties. Wow. It has yacht clubs and hotels. It has huge poverty and council flats as well. So it has a whole mix of things. Yeah. Old type working class areas and a lot of the new wealth and investment. But when I came back to live in Ireland in 2011, I went to a conference and they were saying that on the main street in Dunleary there were 100 premises vacant between the People's Park, including units in the shopping centre, up to Cumberland Street. And I thought that was shocking. And I went to see it. As a little town, as a suburb of Dublin, it got devastated by various issues of management and mismanagement.
Yeah. There was a lot of focus on Dunleary about that. It was kind of the one that really showed up first, wasn't it?
They felt that perhaps the Dundrum Shopping Centre was a pull and that their own management of parking charges was a push. Okay. There were huge issues around parking charges. And then the council made investments in trying to change the physical layout of the streets, saying this will solve the problem, but that didn't solve the problem. So units just didn't have footfall and continued to close.
And how is Dunleary now?
It's turning around a little bit now, but they've added in now a new pedestrian street. COVID has been strange. COVID has let people say, we have to do something. So we have to do it. We have to make a change. We have to have outdoor. We have to have outdoor dining space.
I think there's a lot of good from that. Like,
it's a lot more European, the style of it and stuff. It looks lovely. It feels much nicer. It feels a lot more integrated. Even just what's going on in the square here.
It's going to be literally the nicest town in Ireland, I think.
Okay, I'm not sure about that.
And once Croig, once Croig gets on, we checked with the.
And I think Croig will have a wonderful role to play in that.
Yeah.
And I think all of the things you've done has been fabulous. It's been a breath of fresh air and showing people hope, opportunity.
And it is a grain of sand.
Your St. Patrick's Day podcast was just epic.
Yeah, thank you.
Fabulous, wonderful. Nice. Put together and something out of nothing, but it was fabulous. And the talent you found in the town and the skill you had to put that whole show together, it was wonderful.
Thurles is the most talented town in Ireland, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so.
Well. I would think so.
Ratio of like musicians, artists, unique thinkers. I mean, like that's obviously subjective and.
It's not. No, we checked.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, we asked the facts.
Well, you mentioned about the outdoor dining. I saw during the week that the council are going to apply for funding under the outdoor infrastructure dining scheme and put something in Baker Street.
Oh, very good.
Oh, that's really cool.
How big it's going to be, I don't know, but that's a start there. The square at the moment looks very harsh for me, an awful lot of concrete and paving, and not many trees, not much.
But the trees is, I 100% agree with that anyway. It looks, because I like who said it? I don't know who said it to you the other day, and I looked around and I was like, is there any trees? And yeah, there's some up at the top. When you go onto Google Maps, you can look at, I think it like 2006 maybe, or maybe 9. There's a lot more like green in the square. If you got that green that you can see in 2009 or something like that, maybe it was earlier, or maybe it's just photos, and mix that in with the new look, I think that green would match the pavement really well.
What's happened quite commonly in London is that when, even in the really busy touristy areas, when people have that outdoor space, they've put their own plants in. So it's part of that. So people have got their plant pots and things like that and hanging things, and everybody's kind of taken it upon themselves to spruce it up, and it makes it more alive.
Well, one of the great things when the plans for the square were finally went through planning permission in 2017, Tesco made a submission at that time saying, from the beginning, let's have a good maintenance plan and make sure it looks perfect all day, every day. And I hope that will be done, because it's very important that it doesn't start to get broken and jaded and damaged.
Yeah,
it is disappointing. A lot of the features about the square are disappointing.
Yeah.
The tourism and heritage signage, there's very little of that. There was no art put into the new square. It's just a lot of paving for me and seats.
My fear is the big NRA signs, the big green ones. They're awful looking things. And they basically say to people, you actually don't want to be here. You must be looking for somewhere else.
Yeah. We've made a lot of complaints to the council about that. There was a premises closed on the square, and the Transport Authority put up a huge big green sign telling people not to get to Cork and Cashel.
Terrible.
A woman who bought the premises and started trading there told me that her customers would walk up the street, because that sign obscured her premises, she couldn't see it.
That's mad, yeah.
And I thought, so the engineer said, it's going, don't worry. So they told her, don't worry, it's going.
Okay.
And then she asked, well, can you take it out sooner? So if it's going, take it now. Let's help business, let's support the person. They didn't take it down. And then when they've redone that side of the square, it's been reinstalled, moved out a little bit. But now there's a premises there, an absolutely gorgeous building that Healthy Haven are in. Beautiful paintwork there.
So nice.
It obscures that, and it really damages the look of the
square.
square.
Well, we go and take it down.
Yeah.
We do that.
In Wales, they don't allow that. You have to put all those signs on the perimeter of the town. You're just not allowed to do that.
And in the square as well, I don't think it's necessary in the square. I think even for people who might be from France passing through. I seen a yellow reg in a van, in a camper van yesterday. It looked like a French reg, and I have a funny feeling they'd not look at that sign, because they probably have Google Maps up, and even if they don't, you're looking at the signs on the edge of towns. Nobody even thinks. I've never once seen anyone I've been in a car with look at signs in the centre of towns. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't think
the scale of it is disproportionate.
That's exactly
it's a motorway
and
sign.
It takes on the beauty of it, but that's our tragedy though in Thurles. Liberty Square is the point where the N75 and the N62 two national roads meet. So that means that what goes on Parnell Street, O'Donovan Rossa Street, Stephen Road, and coming up Cathedral Street are all under the control of Transport Infrastructure Ireland. So the local council can say, we'd like to do this, but I think Transport Infrastructure Ireland have the final say on what's allowed.
That is mad. I think
traffic in Thurles is a big thing, and we're going to have a new national development plan published in September. Whether anything progress will be made with the Inner Relief Road or bypass. I don't think it's even going to be mentioned.
Should we replace all the traffic lights with trees? Will that make things better or worse?
That would work.
People don't like the traffic lights at present. I hear there's a lot of traffic lights in Clongar.
We'll just dig them up then. What? Yeah, for every car we should put a tree. Ban roads, ban the Romans.
You were saying, sorry Catherine, we changed the subject when you said that you came back from New York in 2009.
Yes, I came back in 2009. My mother was ill, and I went back to living at home for about 10 months. But a lot of that time was really just up and down to hospital in Waterford, and it was a bit of an insight into the hospital service, a lot of frustrations with the cancer services at that time. I know somebody's ill, and if somebody has a terminal diagnosis, we know what's going to happen, but it still seems to be very clunky and hard with what the person has to go through to get blood tests, to get their treatment. She had a fall and she broke her arm, and having to merge oncology appointments with orthopaedic appointments was a disaster. One day she went for her orthopaedic appointment and they never called her, despite we going up a couple of times to the desk, because her oncology file had been left upstairs in that department, hadn't come downstairs. So the HSA really needs to completely take about 10 leaps forward, start using digital, start having patients' records in a better way organised. So in that time living at home, it was like going back to 1974. I was the kid at home in my mother's house. We all our family, my siblings have a brother and two sisters. We fell into the same roles that we had as children in the house. And then in 2010, I went back to New York.
Was that a bit traumatic?
It sure was. It sure was.
Reliving family traumas.
Yes, because we'd all we had changed, and it was interesting. While I was home for those 10 months, at Christmas time, my sister gave me Fuelon's 3 books to read. And going back to New York after Christmas, reading one of them, she said in the prologue of one of the books that in your family, the only price for being permanently accepted is that you never change. And I said to the pilot, turn around this plane, I want to go back and explain to the folks what's happened here, because I think I had gone away and I'd been a manager and I'd had a lot of control and freedom and independence. And now it was difficult to go back and being a person that sort of blended into the background and melted to make things work the way other people wanted them to work, you know. So it was. But I went back to New York then for 10 months. While I was at home, actually, my green card was issued. And I told my mother, look, it came in the post today. And my landlord in New York posted it on to me, but we didn't know it had been issued. He took all the post that arrived, put it in a larger envelope and sent it over to me. And just there was some flyers, other notices, whatever, and there's my green card.
No way.
Wow.
So I went up to
That's
say,
glad.
look what arrived today.
How long was the application process and stuff for that?
Yeah,
that's quite.
Yes, it was 8 years.
No way.
But it was 8 years because I put it in. It was announced in December 2000 that if you were in the country and you had somebody who could sponsor you, there was a little clause called Section 285. You were eligible to put in a case. You could put in your application. You could remain in the country. You could work. You could pay your taxes. All done. So I did all of that. But as we know, the deadline for putting in the application was the end of April 2001.
Okay.
But when 9/11 happened in September 2001, 6 weeks after the planes crashed into the World Trade Center, the immigration office in New York sent out a new visa for Mohammed Atta, the guy that was flying the plane into the building. So they got crucified for saying, what kind of assessment and examination are you doing with your applications?
But he got a visa, your man that flew the plane into the...
6 weeks after he did it, when everybody in the world knew his
Oh,
name.
gee.
So
That's mental.
the head of immigration told the staff, don't process anything, don't issue anything, slow it down, don't make another mistake.
Wait, I get that right? Did you say they gave the guy who flew the plane into Twin Towers a visa 6 weeks after he flew?
Yeah, sure, he was doing good work.
I don't even know. That's mad. That's literally one of the maddest
So that
things
caused
ever.
a huge delay.
You were there for 9/11. Yeah.
I was there for 9/11. I was at home in bed for 9/11. I woke up and I heard on the radio, the guy on the radio was just saying, now this footage of the second plane. I used to work nights a lot of the time. And
Were you still in the restaurant then?
No, I was at I was working the rest, but I was at home when it happened.
Yeah.
My
Where
brother
was home? Where's home?
Home, actually, I lived out in the last
Bronx,
10 years.
is it?
No. Well, I started off in Manhattan. My uncle and my aunt used to live at the top of Manhattan.
Yeah.
Then I moved to Riverdale for a while.
Okay.
I moved to Maspeth in Queens. But in the last 10 years, I lived out in Flushing.
Okay.
So my cousin used to joke, you're the only person that can walk to the US Tennis Open. It was just down the end of my street.
That's quite posh as well, isn't it, around there?
It's variable. I loved it. It's a
All those
hugely
areas
Korean
seem to be,
community.
Yeah.
A little sprinkle of Polish and Old Irish. But I loved it. But in Flushing, if you took the train into town, you could take the number 7 train, and if it was express, it was in town pretty quick, which would be the subway train.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was overground until it got near Woodside. But also they had the Long Island Railroad station in Flushing, which is like the railroad service. So you could go into Penn Station on that very quickly.
Nice.
And it had a wider range of service at night because it also the other way was out to Long Island, so it was a nice location to live.
Yeah.
When you came back to Thurles anyway, so you've been, I don't know, heavily involved in the community always and very good at spotting things. Well, I remember the first time I met you. Well, how did we meet? Did I just...
You guys approached me. The first time I remember was you guys approached me. You were looking for a space for Crohig.
Oh, you know what? The
You
first
and
time we
Stevie?
had a phone call actually though was...
Don't tell that.
okay, yeah,
No,
actually.
I don't remember.
No,
Go ahead,
that
go
you're
ahead.
actually...
Go ahead, I don't remember. Go
It
ahead.
was just about the mural on the wall, but you're right. I shouldn't actually talk
Oh
about
yes,
that.
oh yes.
Because, yeah.
Sorry, yes, that would have been first, yes.
Yeah, but that was... And then, then I remember... Yeah, then approaching you is... me and Stevie met you
Yes,
at
the
the
mural
source,
was the
wasn't
first
it?
thing, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, but then we met you at the source, and I remember just thinking, like, I was just blown away because, like, that was, like, literally, so, like, this podcast wouldn't be here if it wasn't for meeting you and everything, like, in Crohig.
But I think it's what you want to do, Kieran, is so fabulous and so wonderful for people in the town. And it has been suggested before, but you're the first that have kind of taken it, advanced it so much. There's a guy who lives in Templemore, Giles McBain. And he had
Phyllis, we had
Yeah,
him
we
on.
had him on, actually, yeah.
Okay. So I think you would see, he had suggested years ago that some of those vacant buildings in town could
I
be
didn't
given
know
to young
that.
people to go.
Yeah.
He wrote letters to the Star and said people should be given them a space. If
Absolutely.
they have a space to meet, it's an indoor space to go.
Yeah.
It's a space to go where they don't have to pay an admission, and it's a space where they can be creative and can interact and engage.
Yeah.
It's
Definitely.
badly needed.
Oh, definitely.
In like London has been really good at doing
England,
in like the
even,
deprived
yeah.
areas these meanwhile spaces. So while places are kind of waiting for sort of planning and other usage, they've been deemed safe and given over to people to do, like art exhibitions and cooking workshops and all this stuff. And it's really invigorated sort of the areas that were that had been run down and were sort of waiting to be built up again.
Definitely.
It's
It's
an
the thing with
amazing
it,
stuff.
all that rundownness, all that dereliction, all that
It's
vacancy,
amazing.
that really hurts and drags down people, their well-being and their sense of...
Yeah, but it's such an opportunity. Like, that's exactly what you see in there. We were talking the other day, weren't we, about like when people live in a nice environment, your self-esteem is better. You feel better about
Oh,
yourself.
yeah.
You want to go out
Definitely.
and do stuff.
Exactly.
It's that sort of environmental wellness that people
Exactly.
get.
Yeah.
And that's what literally happens sort of over the course of a month when these spaces are opened up in London. People feel cooler and more vibrant
Yeah.
and like more involved and more active, and it just opens everybody's
And
eyes.
also, I think they take that then openness themselves to express and participate in that,
Yeah.
where before they were just waiting for that opportunity.
Yeah.
Were.
So you can give them
Yeah.
an opportunity. It's great. There's a couple who live in Cork, Frank O'Connor and his wife Jude Sherry. They lived in the Netherlands for 14 or 15 years
Okay.
and moved back to Cork. They are shocked at the dereliction in Cork.
Mm.
They're shocked at properties that
Cork
the
is,
colleges, the
yeah.
HSC, the council own. Big substantial properties or buildings that are locked and closed. Nobody has a plan or a use for them or an
Yeah.
intention. And on the main street, a lot of buildings, facades are collapsing and falling. It's still unacceptable in Ireland. What we take is what our community physically looks like.
They do that in Austria as well. So I remember when I came back home first, I had like friends in Austria, and they were opening their office in Vienna or whatever, and they were saying, you open an office in Thurles. I said, no, I can't afford it. It was like, how can you not afford it? Surely is Thurles not a small town? And I go, yeah, but just I couldn't afford it. And they were in Vienna getting paid 40 quid a week to be in a place.
Well,
By the council, we're paying
Yeah.
them to keep the lights on the ground floor. And I said, explain that to me again. Why are they paying you 40 quid a week to be in an office when I can't afford it, to rent an office? And they were saying, well, like it's like this. Nobody wants to be in the ground floor on the shop. There's no use for them. So they'll be in all the upper floors will be apartments. But to make the town look pretty and full, or Vienna, they pay people to be in these in pretend offices that
And
aren't
then,
real.
you know, even if people take on some of the running costs of that place to do it up a little bit and that kind of thing, that's what happened in parts of London as well. Like people were given cheap rent by the landlord, and then in return you do the place up as you live there.
Yeah.
And people can then afford it, you know,
And
and
it
the
stops-
place gets done up. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
win-win.
Definitely, we've like even been offered like spaces before. You know, they're not suitable and stuff, but like it's cool. But I definitely would say I think people are sort of like disheartened by it, because I think a lot of time people get ideas and stuff and they might need a space and they go straight to the council. The problem with that is like the second idea comes, you go straight to the council are going to see that as more work for them. But if you have a great plan, and like now the council have to find you a space, and they're kind of, you know, whether it's they don't want to do it because they're too busy or they're doing absolutely nothing at all, and you know, that's a person by person basis, and as a council person,
Motivation zero.
yeah, every council person is different. Some of you are lovely, some of you are extra lovely, and but like I think people, what I would do is like go straight to the landlords, go to those spaces, try to like these people. There's a lot of really cool sound people out there. I seen it with festivals, a lot of festivals in Ireland. Like I know people who run festivals, successful festivals, and they just went door to door to different farmers, and then farmers just they'll either use that money for like land maintenance, and there's a lot of like derelict houses around Ireland that the people who own them were passed down, and they can't afford it now, so they want like the space filled to so that it's kept alive, and there's lots of that. We've seen lots of that. Like we've met lots of people offering us really nice spaces and stuff, and we can see that there's all over Ireland. So that's why we believe there's potential for Crochig buildings like all over Ireland, or like that kind of space and stuff. The buildings are there, the spaces are there. People need to put the work in themselves, I believe. It's not always...
So some of that, but also the government did set up Creative Ireland a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And that's something there where the government finally recognising that, sadly, I think what the government are trying to do is monetise it and see how you can export it, how you can sell it. But in the meantime, it's going to bring vitality to an awful lot of communities.
Yeah.
And the other thing is yesterday, Tipperary Leader Company got an extra €925,000 for this year, for the next 2 years, because EU recovery funds have been allocated and now divided down along the line. And they really want, Heather Humphreys, the minister, she really wants community groups and people
She seems nice,
to say, come forward with an idea, to go to your leader company and see where you can get funding and assistance for it. But we need the leadership and the communication to let people
100%.
know, here's how you get the information, here's how you apply for the funding and draw
Exactly,
it down. Very little leader funding is applied for in Thurles, which is a pity.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get the information. It's almost like by this weird back, you know, like Chinese whispers, almost word of mouth. It's like the black market in World War II or something.
I know I did leader funding, and it's a lot of work. It's just a lot of paperwork. Like I was literally in my office for a couple of weeks till midnight trying to sort out this.
They're trying to say that will be needed because you want to have accountability. You want to make sure no money is wasted. But this is projects that she wants done by the end of June 23, by the end of December 23, and claim it down by 24.
We have very clear and feasible ways of monetizing those kind of spaces that we've been working on for a while now, since 2018, but we're just being patient with it and stuff like that. There's lots of negatives, pros and cons with setting up. Like we're not going down the route of setting it up as a non-profit ourselves, because the restrictions behind non-profits are insane. Like Music Generation, I like, for example, seem like one of the coolest groups ever, and apparently they're setting one up in Thurles. I don't know what that's true or what that is about, but like they're still so restricted, but they've also had to do it that way. I would say to people, like, I don't know, when I started coming across all this stuff, I was really eager, and I was like, oh yeah, how do you set up a company? How do you do it? And you start to realize, like, there's a lot of stuff I think people believe they have to sign themselves up for and like have to do it this certain way. But like, right now, like, Crohig isn't going to be based on any model that's ever been set up in Ireland. It will take more influences from groups in England and America, definitely like stuff in LA and stuff like that. There's a lot of cool stuff, and stuff that's legally able to be set up here. Absolutely legal, absolutely like ethical, everything, and that's the way we're going to do it, because I think people like sort of get caught up with what's been done before, and they might meet people and people will say this is how we did it, and the reason we're not getting change is because everyone's doing the same thing that's been done before.
Yes.
And we need to look at different models and stuff. Everything's legal, but everyone's going down to, okay, we need to set up a charity.
Yeah, it's like, how do we fit into what's already there? And it's
Yeah.
like, what's already there isn't the
Working.
best. You know, we can
It's
It's not working.
And I do think I agree with you there, not to
Yeah.
go to the council with something, because that puts you in a parameter there and on an agenda and on a schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's much better to take your fabulous idea and be as dynamic
Yeah.
as you can with that, and go with that. And that's what's lacking in Thurles. There's too much of an idea of the council should do this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Council firstly have statutory things that they have to do.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
they really only want to do what they are statutorily inclined. They would be going out on a limb if they go off and do something that they're not responsible
Yeah,
for.
exactly.
But also, they have a limited workload, they have limited personnel. Now, there is a problem. I do really think there's a problem in Thurles with things that the council do. It seems to be driven and managed by the Community and Enterprise section, which are not based in Thurles, by the Planning Office, which is not based in Thurles. So sometimes I think they're making decisions that aren't very well informed and aren't grounded in the best thing for Thurles.
Especially in 2021,
Right.
that's one of the big things that I see is like, that's why I don't talk I never really talk shit about them, because my whole belief is, well, I remember talking to you back early on and you were like, I don't know, maybe I wasn't talking to you about it, but I was like, you're the person that I've always been talking about, as in when people, like, everyone's giving out about, like, you know, the council and government not doing this or that, which I totally understand, because especially people who are paying tax money, like, of course that's like, absolutely, but at the end of the day, like, do we want to the best thing for our kids and our families and ourselves? Then, like, it's shit like that the people that are paying tax money aren't doing it, but like, they're not going to start doing it. Like, we have to start doing that, and we have to be, and whether people, and maybe, young people go for council or just make that change, like the sort of stuff we're doing, because I do think there's really good people in council.
Yes.
Yeah,
but
there is.
times change, and eventually I'll get to an age where I
Yes.
won't be able to keep up with the change,
Yes.
and I won't be able to give the
But clearly,
community.
it's not a question of being out of date, it's completely being out of the loop.
Exactly,
I think
yeah,
they have
I
a
agree with
schedule
that,
of
actually.
work they
Of
want
course,
to
yeah.
deliver.
Okay,
and they're doing
yeah.
that. But actually, you're talking about what kind of future you want to have for your
Yeah.
family. There's a very important thing going on at the moment. Yesterday, the council published the draft county development plan. Now, that might sound like it's a load of reading, and it is. It's 1,680 pages. It's 14 different documents about how you want housing, transport, energy, everything
Yeah.
in the county to go from 2022 to 2028. And people can
Yeah.
read it and make a submission by the 15th of October.
Okay.
People should read the chapter about
Definitely.
Thurles and see what the council say. This is how we think decisions should be made about Thurles. That means then if somebody comes forward with an idea somewhere else in the county or in Thurles,
Yeah.
the council are going to look at that development plan and say yes or no. So
Exactly.
we need to make sure we get the right description of the future Thurles
Yeah.
into that plan. Really would encourage
Yeah.
people to check it out.
Yeah, all decisions will be made in accordance with that plan unless some material
Yeah.
consideration indicate otherwise. So that's going to really tie us up for the next
Yeah.
few years. And the other thing I noticed as well is, with the thing about the council, is people have a tendency to hand over their kind of ownership of their situation
Yeah.
rather than just saying, this is what I want to do, just do it. You don't have to go anywhere
Yeah.
really to do it.
And like, that's the thing as well, like, we're talking about might come across it like we're like, you know, anti-council and like that.
No.
Crohig is like, we want like so we've got great support from council people, like the TDs and like whatever people think about any party. I don't follow any party, any of that stuff. I just see all of them sharing Crochig stuff, like, and that's really cool to see that. Like, we've had guards support everything we do, you know, everything, the church, like every part of the community, like we haven't got any resistance so far. So
Yeah,
like,
way that is though.
what?
That's because goodness and great things speak for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. We're not fighting anything. We're not
Yeah.
giving out, but and it's just like, here's a solution, like, and it's not like here's a solution because this is bad. Like, it's just here's a solution. Let's like leave it at that and act on it. And we found we've got no resistance, and we really appreciate all the like the council people from Thurles, even outside Thurles, like sharing our stuff and I can get, I don't know, like a lot of the time you see it, the posts where they might share things because like it's the thing or whatever. A lot of them I've read, like you can tell by the wording that they actually do believe in it and they're sharing it with good intentions, and that's really cool to see and motivating.
But there is like, there's a lot of wasted energy in kind of like trash talking things, and it's like if you just acknowledge that something isn't as you would like it and then bring in a solution.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's where the energy should be going.
Totally. Build something better rather than just be
Yeah.
fighting
Yeah.
the old.
Because then that thing sort of outshadows and outshines the other thing, and that sort of withers away anyway. And
Yeah.
the other thing
I noticed
takes
that you
over.
do that, Catherine, as well. Like, so if I see a flower bed looking bad around the town, I know it's only a matter of time before you arrive on the scene.
Yeah.
Before you get your trowel out.
Don't have green fingers, and I'm not around town as much as I used to be. I spend a lot of time in Tipperary town now because I started the job actually, it's a year ago this week. I started working for Tip Midwest.
Yeah,
Radio,
how
so
is that going actually? Talk
it's
about
interesting,
that.
fabulous.
I'd love to know.
It's been, for me, it was a wonderful baptism of warmth and of community spirit again.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Met some wonderful people there, and their attitude and approach, it was like going on a retreat of happiness and kindness. So
That's really cool.
really got a big boost out of that. So I loved that. As my job, I produce the news 5 days a week. It's an interesting station.
What times you do it a week?
So the news starts at 8 a.m. The first bulletin will be 8 a.m. The last bulletin is 7 p.m. But there is no news at the weekend. So at the weekend, the world stops. You can take a break. You're not going to hear any bad news
Thank God.
on the station. And then I present a talk program in the morning, so about 20 to 11 until noon. And I can have a variety of guests on that. So we cover everything. We're going to start a new spot actually soon on social media. Have a wonderful lady from Tipperary Town who works in that area. So she's going to be our consultant on social media, website design, issues like that.
That's really cool.
So digital innovation brought that the whole area. But we have everything, you know, history. And Tipperary Town has a lot of great things going on. They've got a task force that is going to publish a revitalisation plan for the town shortly.
Yeah.
And they've got a application going in for the Rural Regeneration Development Fund next week that they'll publicise. They've got 3 big projects picked out. They're going to go first for funding for that. And then they've got a lot of big buildings, old historical buildings, that they're trying to do options analysis on those to identify how they use those. There's a lot of great energy. They have some very good infrastructure, sports facilities in the community. So there's a lot of good energy in the building. They've got a wonderful arts and cultural centre, and they're trying to now revitalise the town. But their big problem is the town is a very long, straggly town, and the N24 is the main street. So about 70,000 vehicles pass through the main street every day. It is horrendous and noisy.
Which is
70,000.
That's mad.
Yep, incredible. So that's one of the roads.
70,000 what?
Vehicles a week pass through the main streets of Tipperary Town. A lot of it is heavy goods vehicles that are going between Limerick or West of Ireland down to Westport, down to Wexford or Rosslare or Waterford to the ports. Incredible volume of traffic. So that's their issue. And just when you mentioned about the appearance of the place, the council advertised as usual in Tipperary Town their painting enhancement scheme.
Yeah.
And a number of people in the Chamber of Commerce in Tipperary Town, in the Zoom lockdown, they were discussing it, and they had an idea, let's make it bigger. And the credit union agreed to match the money that the council had put forward.
Nice.
Wow.
So they got 50 properties. And then because the Chamber were pushing people to get involved in it, they got people who do power washing and provide cherry pickers to come on board as well.
That's cool.
So between now and September, and Crown Paints then came on board and designed special colour schemes for them, various properties, how you would mix and match the colours. So
Is that an Irish company, Crown? I didn't know.
they have operations here, but I don't think it's an Irish.
I don't think
right.
it is. They're in
That's
the
cool
UK
that they've
as
done
well,
something like that on such a local level for such
so
a big
by
company.
September, they're going to have 50 properties painted, and they hope they can do
That's
that
cool.
every year for a couple of years.
Would it be great if we could do that in the square when it's finished?
Yeah, it's a bit
Yeah.
of healthy competition. We should take on Tip Town.
Well, I think it's been tried before. I think Pat Donnelly, when he was involved in the Lions Club, got a painting company to come on board and create a palette. The thing about Thurles is it's a great place for making reports, but very good at ignoring the reports then.
Yeah.
They did have a town incentive document in 2016 that was ignored by everybody. Now last year the council had LUC Consulting from the UK produce a town renewal strategy.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but the way that was finalised, it was presented to the public in October.
Yeah.
The council agreed to it in January, and then ever since then, all we hear are councillors saying, "Oh, that's a great pipeline of projects." but I think it's at a higher level than what the community needs.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that engagement in it. They haven't done a lot to share the projects and the changes they're going to make in the town.
There isn't a lot of engagement in those kind of things. I noticed in Thurles, like compared to when I lived in England, like everybody knew everything about every development plan and everything.
Had a say, a genuine say.
Yeah, there
too,
was
like,
more interaction in these public meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah, people do want to know more. They don't just let things pass
Yeah,
them by. In the
and
same
I
way.
remember like we were all studying architecture and we thought we knew it all and stuff, but it was all the older people knew much more than us, and they knew all the intricacies of the law, they knew all that, but whereas we seem to hand over ownership of all that stuff to somebody else. Like we don't get involved.
I have
at
to
all.
say, in Liberty Square, when the council did that as a Part 8 planning application, where they asked the public, this is what we'd like to do, what are your thoughts on this? The council themselves made some mistakes in how they did it. So they did it themselves 3 times, because each time they made a mistake and they fixed it each time. But from the public, from the great town of Thurles, there were only 12 people made a submission on that planning application. And it's spending 10 million euros in your town centre. The project down at the Thurles Market Square, Thurles Market Quarter, that project is coming in with a price tag of 3.2 million euros. The council put it up to the public and said, this is what we'd like to do. There was only 1 submission. So
you're saying that like that there's a lot more in that, there's a lot of that falls on the people too, and not just like
I think so.
I seen, because I have seen a few going out only because you shared them and probably because no one else, and like, and that's like obviously the problem, trying to reiterate, but like like I have seen, and maybe that's what the problem is.
There doesn't even, like, what I think as well is there doesn't seem to be like basic knowledge about things. Like could have someone come in to me and said, I've tried 4 times to get planning permission on this, like, and it's ridiculous. I hear you're the man of sword, and I go, well, actually, you're not entitled to it because the development plan says that, so you shouldn't have applied in the first place. Like, there's all these basic madness, like.
And people think you can get something fixed.
No, you
in
can't.
theory, it's supposed to be, here's the planning laws, there are regulations there with how an application should be handled.
Yeah.
Here's the development plan, which is why it's important that people look at the one that's being created now for the
Absolutely.
next 8 years. Because when the planning officials get an application from somebody for something, they're going to look at that and see, does that allow it or does it ban it? And that'll be how the decision is made, more or less, as well as the procedures in the planning laws.
Yeah.
My experience of the planners as well is they want to give you planning permission if they can, like, and they're just they're governed by the plan, like.
but they need the boxes ticked.
Yeah, if they don't tick the
Yeah,
box, they
yeah.
will not give it to you.
But they do want to, is what
They
you're saying.
do want to, but they're not allowed, you know.
Yeah.
Catherine, what makes you so involved in it, and like what makes you kind of so hands-on? And
Why
because
do you
most of this
care?
kind of stuff is that people just don't want to get involved. It's a headache
Yeah.
and it's a pain in the arse. But
I think it's because I have no social life. This is my social
a
life.
social life is overrated.
Yeah.
That's what I told myself when I got my daughter. It's overrated. You don't need that.
So I think it's partially that. But we would always have been involved in doing things. I was telling somebody this morning, when we were kids, there was bogland opposite a farm we had, and people would come there and dump washing machines and cars and all kinds of rubbish, building materials. And my mother had a constant battle with the council to put up signs and say no dumping and take it away. And if she found somebody's name and address in the rubbish, she was onto them in a flash.
That's class.
So we always kind of grew up with that way of being. But we were engaged in things, and we always
Yeah,
discussed
and activating
politics
on
in our
And
house as well.
did she hunt people down? Yeah,
What?
fair play to her.
Yes, yes.
And what
she
would
dropped
happen?
stuff back to them because she did
She
not.
took it
She
back
dropped
to
it
them.
back to them.
Yes,
Brilliant.
she did not
That's
want
brilliant.
that land to be damaged and destroyed. And then
That's
as it
so
happened,
cool.
the land itself is kind of bogland. And my brother and my sister were absolutely engaged in nature, in the Irish Wildlife Trust, and in habitats in nature and ecosystems.
Yeah.
So they followed on with her from that idea, but they were looking at protecting the nature, where she just didn't want the dirt and filth of it. And that's a big problem in Ireland. It's extraordinary how people
Do you remember
feel.
any reactions when she arrived back with somebody's rubbish to their house or anything?
When my mother generally got what she wanted, you know.
Did she?
There was
That's
no
so
argument with
What
her.
would they just say? Just put the head down and
Yes,
say
head
nothing?
down.
I'd
that's
imagine.
it.
I was going to say. I'd imagine the best thing they probably would have only done it once, kind of thing. Like.
Yes.
Yeah, was it known as like you got a visit from Mrs. Fogarty last night and that was it? Like enough said.
That's right. Good. I love that. That's the thing. Like I think as well. Like that's the difference between like, you know, as you were saying. Yeah, it's okay to state the problem, but like you activate on it. Like in that same way. Your mother did, and I think that's the thing 99% of people
I
don't
also
do.
think so. I came to school in Thurles in the 70s and the 80s,
Yeah.
and it just did seem to be a more vibrant, thriving town then.
Really?
Parnell Street had a bottling plant. Where Stakelam is in now was a bottling plant, Dewan's Minerals. And if you're passing up there going to school, you could see the bottles going around. There were so many businesses and industries in the town.
It was booming.
Yeah.
And there were no bad-looking buildings that I remember. I may have rose-tinted glasses, but it seemed to be really a successful town.
Yeah.
And now, for me, I've lived in New York. New York is a big city.
Yeah.
For me, I see Thurles as one town. I don't drive, so I walk everywhere. I would walk to Turtla, out towards Ballycurran. So I would walk out to all of the edge of the town.
Yeah.
I don't get this idea that the town is only Liberty Square and Friar Street.
Me neither.
Or the town, oh shucks, now the centre is moved down to Clongower. It's a tiny little place, guys, relatively.
Yeah.
And it should all be marketed as one holistic unit.
100%.
There's great big businesses on the outskirts of it. And when I say big, I mean they're big in terms of physical size.
Yeah.
But they're also businesses that people with high net worth come to spend. If you come to buy a car, we have 5 dealerships in town.
Yeah.
It should be all of the towns should be marketed and promoted as one. I'm delighted to see that Designedly have called out during the week asking people to get involved and put more information on thurles.ie on the website.
Yeah.
I think that's really important that we put everything great about Thurles on the website so it can be found on that digital platform.
How do we do it? Just email into Designedly or what?
Okay, they're asking people to email them. Now, I do think it's a flaw. I think the people that are involved in building the website, and I was one of those in terms of, I didn't build the website, but I was involved in trying to create the structure for it. And then we had expected that everybody was going to chip in to create the content for it. And in the end, people didn't want to do that. I did the education section. I did a few of the other sections. I was delighted to put in Dennis O'Driscoll. He wrote an essay about his life growing up in Thurles. Haley, I don't know if you've read it, but you might love it. This man was a poet in Thurles. He died about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
6 years ago. But he wrote an essay called Circling the Square,
read
which
it,
is about his
Oh,
life
yeah.
growing up in Thurles. And he gives you an insight into it might be interesting for you to read it.
That is really
So
Yeah,
we
I
put
would
that in
be.
there on one of the blog pieces. But that needs ongoing content.
Yeah.
There's so much of Thurles that's not in there yet.
Yeah.
What did you learn? Sorry.
No, go on.
What is there anything that you bought from living in New York? Because you lived in Queens and different areas and stuff. Is there anything that you bought from that when you came back to Thurles with your view of the town and what you saw? Anything that you learned and wanted to enact here?
Well, not really. The only thing I did love in New York was in the library service, they advertised a course where citizens who wanted to do something, could go and take this course over 8 Saturday mornings. And it was about how to fundraise, how to promote a thing, how to market an event, how to get cooperation in an event, how this part of the city works. And it gave people, ordinary citizens, a little bucket of skills and some experience and some confidence to go and do things. And then they had that capacity to be involved in their community.
Yeah.
I think we have a problem with some of our committees and organisations. They don't make their decisions, or they don't run their business very well. They kind of drift along. They don't have a vision of what they're trying to achieve. Maybe personalities dominate. Maybe governance isn't so good. So we need to look at giving people in the community a little bit more skills and confidence that they could. Now, the Public Participation Network, which is quite an organisation, they do run some training courses for people to say, here's how to run a committee, here's how to run an organisation.
Yeah.
Like some people have it, but some people don't use it when they come to a committee, and then you end up that something starts but it fizzles out, or it ends in acrimony, or a really good person leaves because they're frustrated at how it's being run.
Yeah.
But not to be negative, because there's
I know exactly what you're saying.
Cabra Wetlands is a wonderful thing that a committee started from scratch and delivered, and it just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah.
And going forward, like visions for Thurles and stuff, do you see anything like what would you like to see like in 10 years' time?
A big, massive purple flag up on the castle, big white circle on it, and then a black spiral on it.
A Croig symbol.
Yeah.
Also Croig.
Yeah, and it's not like like I know it might sound like that big thing that went on in Germany, but it's not. Like, it's a more positive version.
If there was one thing I could do, I would love to see the river be properly looked after and managed. The council announced recently that they were going to do a Riverwalk project from Thomond Road out to Turtla.
Oh, yeah,
go across over to Ladieswell, and they put out a tender for somebody to design, plan and construct whatever needs to be done to have that walk. And then 2 smaller pieces are to design a walk on the bank of the River Drish from the Mill Road over to the Dublin Road, and to design a footpath from Ladieswell back in on the Mill Road. Those things are something that might will come along the line. But I think the river itself and the town centre, there's a lot of controversy. People want to see no vegetation in it. Other people throw a lot of junk and rubbish in there, which they shouldn't do.
Your mum should be. Your mum.
Yes, there you go. You see, there's a lot of algae bloom in it from overuse of nitrogen and phosphorus. So if the river could look fabulous. So I did send the council a proposal to say, look, why don't you, instead of starting at Thomond Road, come back and start on the main bridge in town and look at Pheasant Island and go down south between the two bridges and make that look fabulous. The tourist office has reopened. I don't know if they've got that facility. They're in the building that's known as Lorna Parker on the Mall.
Oh yeah,
They put up some new signage. I don't know if they've got a permanent footing there.
Yeah.
And they're going to try to develop a product in town. 2 of the hotels now have been renovated. Absolutely fabulous rooms in both the Annan Hotel and in Hayes Hotel in the Square. Munster Hotel, a terrible example of dereliction that's still just sitting there. And again, the council should act on that. They should try to get something done there. They've got enough laws in the books to do that. Yeah. So there's potential for tourism to bring people. People seem to think the square will be a great positive thing, but I think it needs soft engineering of collaboration and
it needs content.
Yes.
The square is going to be a canvas, a beautiful canvas at that, in my opinion. I think when it's done, like, and that's like different to everyone. Maybe the lamps could be purple too. I don't know, but definitely the square will be done, but now you do need the content. Well, yeah, and it's cool that like the seats are outside the pubs and shit. That's my favorite part about it, to be honest. Seeing that atmosphere, it feels like you're in Cork City or something. Sure. But
yeah, we need a guy playing the panpipes, a guy selling jewellery. I don't know what the council are going to do with it. Not to go on about the council, but they create a lot of the environment of what we have. They've put out public for consultation casual trading laws, and they're saying they'll have casual trading only in 3 parts of Thurles: in Parnell Street car park, a little space down near the all-weather purpose pitch in the town park, and in front of the agricultural building. Do we need casual trading spots on the square?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that would be cool.
I think it'd be really
for
nice.
atmosphere,
Yes, for atmosphere. So how strict will the council be? Will they allow people to come and do things there or not? That needs to be clarified, I think, going forward. A lot of the pictures you see of the square, they've got painted in traders' canvases, they've got stalls there, but there's none in this new casual trading laws, none suggested for there.
Thurles, if the council are ahead of the game with things, there's an opportunity here for where Thurles is heading for the council to step back and look at the failings of even, I'd say, Galway City, beautiful place. Galway City started getting really strict with permits for musicians and stuff like that, and they seen a massive like tourists, everything was just like Galway just started to lose its thing, and I hope I don't know what the crack is now, but Cork is sort of more open, so it's an area by area when it comes to permits and all this stuff. Just relax with it. Like, obviously make sure the people doing it are doing it with good intentions. They're not selling anything dodgy, you know.
They did that in Dublin as well and started to kill things. It's not as vibrant. They wanted they auditioned them. They wanted to get permits for them. They charged them.
I think they had noise limits as well. They had
all nonsense
like
stuff.
And you can be you can work all that stuff out and still make sure that everyone's satisfied with it. That's not too loud. That it's good content and stuff like that. And you can regulate all that without paper and pen, they can, and maybe it's harder in Dublin and stuff because it's bigger, but in Thurles, if they just relax, we could all do this right, like the council, everything.
Really add to the atmosphere in the
square.
I think it makes a difference. If there's music and buskers, I think it's great, and that can be well organised. We're not saying random people show up and it's variable in standard. It can be well organised, but it should be welcomed and understood by everybody how to communicate where the spots are and how to do it.
Exactly.
We're good at the buskers in the UK. We do that really nicely. So there's loads. It does really change how a place is.
Yep, absolutely. Much nicer experience for people to come, and that's what they're saying. That experience will bring a footfall. You mentioned earlier about music generation. Where the new car park was built, behind McKevitt's, there's this building there that's partially blocked up at the moment. That's the building they're thinking of.
Okay,
it would take a lot of work to get it done. I was disappointed to see, I think a council official said, this will help to bring footfall to the area. Everything isn't about footfall for commerce. It should be about a space for people to come and use that building and use that space.
For the town, for
the
people,
music, for the creativity. Not saying those people, and then they'll shop while they're there. It's the other thing is important as well.
Footfall anyway, to me, is I always say to people, people are worried about trying to make money. For even take example, kids making YouTube videos now who want to do it for the sole purpose of making money. That's your first mistake. The money will come if you find what you enjoy and you put your heart and soul into it. The money will come. I always explain that to people. Footfall in the same sort of way, in the same structure, is the same thing. You put the thing first, make a good thing. Footfall's obviously naturally going to come. So footfall is important, but it'll just come the same way money comes. When you're doing something you enjoy and. I think It's 20 as well. I know you have to head off, so we'll finish up now. Thanks a million for coming
Guys,
on.
thanks so much for that.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Thank you.
Thanks
very
a
much.
million.
Fair play to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for sorting out all our flower beds and all
Yeah.
railings and everything that needed a paint in the town over the last year.
You're very welcome. Well, this is the thing, they need to be painted again.
Yeah.
Really?
Right,
We'll get out there
We'll
late
have
at
to give you
night.
a hand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, all hands on deck would be great. I'm sure
Yeah.
Refresh
We don't
Thurles
have to
would
do it in
like-
balaclavas at night time or anything.
Yeah.
No. Everybody's good to give permission to do
Yeah,
it. It's just
yeah,
a question
yeah.
of getting out to do it.
Yeah.
So thanks a million to everyone for watching. Thanks to Radic for doing the video
Thanks,
switching.
Radic.
And thanks to Owen for
Thanks, Owen.
doing the Owen stuff.
Yeah.
With the camera
The
and
Owen
stuff.
stuff and the Radic
Yeah,
stuff.
the Owen stuff and the
Use
Radic
very
stuff.
technical terms here.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
very.
do. We know what we're on about, you see.
Yeah, and thanks again for coming on.
Great, guys,
Yeah,
you're welcome.
thanks,
Thank you.
Catherine, thank
Sorry
you.
to be in a rush, but I have another
No,
meeting
you're
today.
perfect. That was
Bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah. A meeting on Saturday, but it has to be done.
Yeah, thanks a million
guys, thank
to
you.
everyone for
Thanks.
watching, and we'll have the new audio equipment in a couple of weeks. Look after yourself. Paint if you get a chance to paint your neighbour's flower.
fence.
Paint a fence or two.
Do it.
Yeah. Right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.